Oh my god, you're still here?
We're still here.
We're still here. I think I'm more worried about that part than the other part.
Yeah, we're still talking about 2012.
Well, why are we
2013?
Yeah, let's get this over with. We're here to talk to you about, in this video, the predictions we made for 2012, what went right and what went far, far wrong. Apparently reality does not agree very well with
replace reality and substitute it with our own?
We cannot do that. No, unfortunately, we can't go back in time and rewrite it.
Right.
On top of that, we're going to also talk about some of the games that we played or whatnot.
Yeah,
that we wanted to discuss. So let's start by going right into it. You can follow along by looking at our video that we discussed last year. So let's start with the Wii. My prediction was that Wii will die in April. And that
that's not really happened. It's still on the store shelves. It's still selling games.
I think we meant die as in no support whatsoever after April.
Well, there was a few things that came out.
Yeah.
But I think there's still WiiWare games coming out.
I think Nintendo effectively ended their support of the Wii in terms of software that was original around April with the release of Xenoblade Chronicles. Kirby's Dream Collection came out in September, but other than that, they did bundles with Skylanders. Skylanders still sells a lot of Wii content, and Just Dance still sells a lot. But that's pretty much all it becomes is a Just Dance, Skylanders, and Netflix system.
And since the Wii U is backwards compatible with the Wii, I think that if companies release Wii games, you can still play them on the Wii U.
Yeah,
so I think they're not really that concerned, but eventually if Nintendo wants people to buy Wii U's, the Wii's are going to have to go.
Yep. The second one was that Xenoblade Chronicles will fail, thus ending the other games from coming. The other games being the other two games from Operation Rainfall.
You were way off.
I was way off.
Good.
It's a good thing I was wrong. I was a bit cynical with that thought because the game was coming out and did in fact come out exclusive to GameStop. In fact, it wasn't tracked on NPD. But then we find out from Nintendo the game did very well. And then from the same coin, we find out that Xseed Games was publishing The Last Story, and they said that that was one of their most profitable, if not their most profitable release yet. Though then again, they didn't have to do any translations. So, well, funnily enough, we're already in 2013, so we don't even need to make this estimate, but they're already bringing over Pandora's Tower. So
Operation Rainfall worked.
There you go. Operation Rainfall worked entirely, and to top it off, I was completely wrong with my assumption that Xenoblade Chronicles would fail.
Good thing, too.
Yeah, great game, apparently.
And Alex, apparently you believed that there was going to be a half more games afterwards. Oh, one or two more games.
I believed that there was going to be one or two more games for the Wii
afterwards.
A
half game.
Yeah, a half game. We can talk about that later. And Tony, you believed not. I was right. There was, in fact, one more game afterwards. Technically two if you include The Last Story.
Yep.
And Kirby was the other one. Other than that, though, we'll get to that in the next predictions in the next video. So pay attention to that. So mostly right, but it's still in the air. 3DS.
Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion 2 will release before E3.
Nope, it's not even out
now.
It might come out to this E3.
It might come out by this E3. What the hell is taking it so long? Apparently,
Kid Icarus will be good,
but not a massive success.
That is true. The game was given mixed reviews. People said it was very good quality, and a lot of people gave it 8s and 8.5s and said it would have given a much better score if the control scheme was more accessible.
The game was stupendous from one perspective, but people who did not grasp the control element of the game would not enjoy it.
The game,
at least not as much.
I feel that people should try it out.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It had a lot of content, and I fairly think that Nintendo is sadly, Nintendo will not get their money back on that game.
Well, maybe they did. The game is probably around 1 million sold worldwide. It probably won't exceed that, really. It's just a game that did good. It's not doing grand. But, that's kind of what we suspected, and that's what happened. Monster Hunter 3G will be brought to the U.S. by Nintendo. Wrong. We suspected that would be the case, that they would, in fact, but it turns out
Capcom wouldn't have brought it over.
Yeah, it turns out that Capcom is bringing it in this year, along with the Wii U version of the game. So that was surprising, and actually, in a good way, was surprising. We didn't suspect it was coming at all.
So far, everything you've said has been bad.
Everything I've been saying is incorrect. I predicted that a 2D Mario game would appear at that E3. Tony, you did not believe it at all. You thought that there was never going to be another Mario game at that point. In fact,
I was hoping, because
actually, I was doubly right. There was 2 Mario games that were 2D that were shown at E3. New Super Mario Bros. 2 and New Super Mario Bros. U.
See, I was hoping that Nintendo would say, okay, we did a lot of Mario games, guys, let's get some other games out there. Instead, not what happened.
They doubled down.
They doubled down. They completely made me a double wrong.
They made me double wrong.
Double wrong. Wrong.
Either way, it was an oddity to see 2 2D platformers from Nintendo that were
2 Mario platformers.
Yeah, that were from Mario, and they were within 4 months of each other. That's like a record. I don't think Nintendo's released 2D Mario games that close to each other.
And I think it caused a problem.
And I think it caused a bit of a problem. I think Nintendo needs to let Mario 2D games a little bit down.
Or let's change it up.
Yeah. Then I said there was going to be no Fire Emblem released in the U.S.
Well, that was a slip up, and we found, and it is coming.
It is coming. I don't know why I thought it wasn't. I think that was before the game came out and it was a big success, and they decided, you know what?
Well, no, I think what happened was in Fire Emblem, it came out in America. I think one game came out and it just didn't do well.
The DS remake of the first game came out and didn't perform well, so the second remake didn't come out.
And so people speculated, okay, there's no more Fire Emblems.
My guess is that they decided to make the game translated for America after it did so well in Japan, with the downloadable content and otherwise. So I think that that's really what propelled it forward. So it's a good thing I was wrong there as well.
And the last thing for 3DS, we were predicting that a new Pokemon was going to be announced, Pokemon Gray.
Yes.
Well, a new Pokemon game was announced, but not Gray.
Black 2 and White 2, and it wasn't for 3DS.
Sadly.
Yeah, it was for DS. And on top of that, Pokemon Conquest also came out for the DS. I thought that one wasn't coming over here. And it just so happened that, Nintendo saw the Pokemon fan base
on the DS
and continued producing games for it, which, in one way it helped because they didn't need to have kids not buy the game for it, but at the same time, the system for it, but at the same time...
it's like, well, now you have to convince people to run out and buy a new console.
Yeah, so now it's a problem that Nintendo needs to get people to move to the next system 2 years later. So that's a bit of a problem.
I don't think Nintendo's ever done that, actually.
Yeah, so so moving on to the Wii U. Oh my gosh. We suspected that there was going to be an October launch, which was wrong. I said it was going to be $350 with a game, and Tony, you said $250 to $300. We were both right.
Yeah,
it did end up $300, but I was also right. It was $350 with a game.
Yep.
I didn't suspect Nintendo was going to do 2 SKUs.
I didn't expect that either. I kind of was worried that they were going to do it the high price at $350, and they did.
And that's what they did. And unfortunately, that doesn't leave them with much help because there's going to be game going into 2013's predictions. I'll tell you more.
You watched the video.
I watched the video. But then I said the controller will cost anywhere between $80 and $100.
Now, the controller itself, we don't actually know a price yet, in America. But
I suspect that it's going to cost upwards of about
$100. In Japan, I think we're selling for equivalent of $130.
That was their speculation.
And so far, there's no games that support dual.
Yeah, so
things.
It's not even worth discussing at that point.
You have to buy a new stand and everything.
Oh my god. Expensive. Anyway, controllers will include small RAM to allow apps to run entirely on the device, a la download play for the 3DS, DS, Game Boy Advance. Unfortunately, that's not right.
We hoped it was going to be interestingly done correctly.
Because that means people could have like a small game and be like, hey, let's bring this upstairs and play it. Play the game of Othello. But it turns out that's not the case at all.
Nope.
The system actually has no memory in it whatsoever.
Yep, it streams. It's a streaming technology.
It's purely streaming, not even maintaining any data in here, which I guess is cheaper, but at the same time, it doesn't provide the satisfaction that
taking it away. It's not the hybrid console handheld.
Yep. Pikmin 3 and a new retro game, no Metroid or Donkey Kong for launch. Both wrong.
Sadly, Pikmin 3, I think, was in discussions for launch, and I think they decided they wanted Pokemon at launch.
Gotta catch them all.
No, they wanted Mario at launch, and so they decided to delay Pikmin 3 and clean it up a bit.
Yeah, I think people's impressions of the 5-minute demo that they had at all events was like pretty much, this can improve, and let's improve it. New Super Mario Bros. U was, we got it out.
Get out, we need money.
We need money. Get it out. And so they decided to delay Pikmin, hopes that would build, an interest in the system, and it's not really happening, unfortunately.
They need more games.
And no retro game. That's coming out this holiday season. We'll get to that in 2013 video. We talked about that.
Watch that.
Tony, you predicted that a new Super Mario Brothers game for this year or early next.
I was right.
You were right. So,
this you were. So, okay, I was right there was going to be a 2D Mario game, but it was going to be on the Wii U. I did not speculate it was going to come out.
So you're not double wrong. You're not double wrong, but you're just wrong. You're just wrong.
I can't be just plain me.
No. Okay, so now we go to the Sony platforms. PlayStation Vita. Uncharted will be the biggest game at launch.
Yep,
it will cost $50.
And it did.
Perfect. A new siphon filter will
emerge. I don't even know what you were smoking.
I thought that siphon filter could still come out on the handheld platforms. There have been previous endeavors on the PSP.
Nope.
So I guess I was wrong there. Third-party support will come through niche Japanese games and maybe larger Western companies. More so the latter than the former, which is odd, seeing as Sony technically did a really good job with the PlayStation Portable in the second half of the generation in Japan.
But I think everyone's gone crazy over in Japan.
Yeah, so at that point, we can see a lot of we're seeing a lot of Western support. The Call of Duty game, which wasn't really developed by them. You also had the Assassin's Creed. That was the big one, and all these ports from EA and other developers, making their games, for PSP, the PS Vita, that were also for PS3, and they were emphasizing that.
And that's basically what's been happening a lot of.
Yeah. As for Japanese developed games,
Soul Sacrifice.
Soul Sacrifice is a big one, but that's published by Sony, so doesn't even count. There's some games. If anything, Namco Bandai with its One Piece games and its Gundam games, they always.
Capcom had Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Oh yeah, and they also had Ultimate Marvelous Capcom 3. So it's a big fighting console at that point.
Yeah.
So was the 3DS to some degree. Anyway, we go to Sound Shapes will be the surprise hit.
We expected it was going to be much bigger than it actually was. Size-wise, the game itself needs more content built in. And the fact that it came out for the PS3 also, I think, harmed it.
I do have to say, though, that it was definitely a hit among critics. So I'd say that we were right in that regard. In terms of a massive selling point, it's not. It's not at all.
The Vita still needs an exclusive that just makes people want to buy it. Yeah. And right now, for $250, there's nothing really worth running out to. And everything you want on it is on the PS3.
Yep. Sales will be better than PSP in the US, but worse in Japan without Monster Hunter. We were right with the latter concept. It's worse. We were not right with the former because I think it sold worse than the PlayStation Portable at this point.
We were assuming that there was going to be some kind of killer app.
Yeah, we thought that Call of Duty or like a new Resident Evil or something would gather that audience together. Instead, it just didn't seem to work too well, as we discussed in our previous video. Now we go to the PlayStation 3. This is its last full year. That's something we really can't figure out until this year. Really,
I mean, because we are speculating that the new consoles were coming out.
Yes.
Sometime mid-year, because they've done it with the Vita, and we also looked around like, well, what games are coming out next year? Is this when we knew about The Last of Us?
I'm not sure it was.
But Last of Us is going to be the last game for the PS3, if the PS4 is right around the corner. I feel that in this case here, we were wrong.
We were wrong. There's more
PS3 games coming out the rest of this year.
Yeah. The Last of Us and The Last Guardian will be the biggest releases of this year. Oh, there's The Last of Us.
Okay, so we didn't know The Last of Us. But sadly, Last of Us is not coming out that year. It didn't come out in 2012. Same thing with The Last Guardian. In fact, I'm honestly thinking that The Last Guardian is kind of getting swept.
Well, let's talk about that in our 2013 predictions. Twisted Metal will be decently received. No, it was kind of meh. Much like how Lightbox's game, Starhawk, was kind of like, it's here. It's good. Not to say anything wrong about Twisted Metal. They tried a good job trying to fix it.
But they changed up the gameplay completely. The best thing about those games was that it was like a free-for-all, and now all of a sudden it's squad-based and stuff. And like only 3 playable characters is really weird.
Yeah. And then we also have no Uncharted this year for PS3, working on PS4 game for it and other franchises. That's true.
That's true.
I'm going to say right out that another Uncharted or another franchise is being made right now for PS4 from Naughty Dog.
Yep.
Title Fighter was supposed to be a surprise hit for E3 and to be announced then for holiday.
Perfect.
Yeah, one down. I think that's the only one we got super. I know we got one of those right too.
Yeah, we got a few, but
a few right, but not a lot.
That one was
we're batting and not
we're
batting. We got fired. So bad.
We're sold.
They suspected us of steroids because we sucked that bad. You need medication to suck that bad. PlayStation 4, we said it will not be shown at E3. Maybe hinted.
Not even hinted.
But
we said maybe.
So we're good.
We'll take that.
We'll take the fist bump there. Video reel with teaser at Tokyo Game Show. Not even a blip. They actually did do a lot of announcements of Vita stuff. So there was that, but there was also the announcement that Soul Sacrifice was delayed like 4 months. So that was also the issue with it.
But there wasn't anything for the PS4, which is honestly, in the history of video games, they always hype things up like 3 years in advance.
And what happened?
What happened with that?
Kazurai with the Iron Fist, I guess.
I think it really amounts to them not wanting to get people to buy their current stuff.
Yeah, buy the new stuff. Buy the Vita.
Buy the Vita. Buy the PS3 tomorrow. Buy the PS4.
All right, so moving on to the big winner for 2012, Microsoft. At least from American standpoints, Microsoft was the big seller. Kinect will continue to succeed for most of the year. I suspect that's still the case.
It's still going on right now because of payment plans and stuff like that.
Now note that there hasn't been anything from Microsoft to announce like how many Kinects have sold. So I think maybe the sales of Kinect have dwindled quite heavily.
But the consoles have sold like
crazy.
The
consoles are still selling because it's a good system. Windows Phone will continue despite its poor sales to other phone services. Pretty much correct. New hardware will debut at E3, but not the console per se. Now, the next few sentences will be relating to an incorrect thought that this is pretty for kids. Except for Smart Glass, nothing was announced for Microsoft, the Xbox,
Music.
And Xbox Music, which was already Zune. So we're going to talk about that. So let's go over that quickly. Zune. A Kinect Roku-like device will be unveiled. We'll have a Kinect 2.0 App Store focused on streaming media over advanced gaming, some games and whatnot. The Kinect Roku device would release this holiday to ensure Kinect remains relevant against Wii U's release. Well, that didn't need any help. That stuff was not happening at all. And to be honest, Xbox 360 doesn't need anything to protect it against the Wii U at this point.
The Wii U needs help.
The Xbox 360's biggest problem will be in a year when the next system comes out. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
With that, Halo 4, GTA 5, and Call of Duty will ensure Xbox 360 remains effective in software sales, but hardware will decline for the first time.
Okay. All the games mentioned there, they all were okay. Sales
Grand Theft Auto 5 didn't come out yet.
Because it didn't come out yet. Call of Duty sold like crazy. As far as
the 4 sold good, not as great as usual.
Now the hardware decline, it did decline this year, but it still sold a ton of consoles.
And the funny thing is, we got some interesting stats going on that's going to be mentioned in the next video. We're going to keep hyping this up.
No, we keep pointing this way, but I think that the videos are on this side.
The next video. Tony, you said that Kinect 2 will be backwards compatible with the 360. We don't know.
We don't know. It didn't get announced, so
yeah,
I could be right.
We could be right, could be wrong.
I could be still right.
Kinect 2 will work for both the streaming device and also the new Xbox. Can't really say because the streaming device was terror bad for our predictions. Yes. And finally, a new console will be shown mid to late 2013 release.
We were wrong.
We were wrong about
again. This is all because we thought that they'd be tooting their horn and blasting their.
Microsoft did it. They both Sony and Microsoft did it.
Last generation, the 360 and the PS3 were both hyped. This is 2 years in advance.
This is why 2012 sucked so bad
because they no hype. They didn't take the initiatives. They just said, "Oh, we'll just step back and let our current console sell," because they were losing money like crazy at the beginning of this generation.
And I'm for the wild card. We have Apple.
It is wild card.
iPad 3 coming in March. That happened. We already knew at the time too. A new device will be announced to be a TV device. Also incorrect, as will the new device being a remote control as a substitute. And I suspect Apple will be in the console race if it has a competent app store. We were wrong all along with that.
Now technically, it is an app store. It's basically using mobile gaming.
So that covers pretty much everything for our predictions, which were mostly shoddy. So
we were right some of them.
Let's talk about 2012's games while we're here. Just a brief discussion. So, what did you think about 2012's games?
Varied.
Yeah. They were kind of a lot of samey stuff.
Yeah, basically anything we saw already came out again.
And we're at this point in the generation where there's a lot of games that are coming out that are really colored by numbers at this point. The
innovation
element of the industry has kind of devolved. There's been some games that kind of came out relatively interesting, like Dishonored
and Journey.
And those games were really effective in terms of interesting concepts. Old indie games like La Mulana were being released.
Yes.
That was significant. The 3DS eShop, I bought a whole bunch of games on that. I don't think it was... I mean, that's significant for me.
Sound Shapes again.
Sound Shapes was once again doing really well. Fez had a bit of a controversy about its release because of the patching issues associated with it. At the top of that, there was the whole...
It's very glitchy.
And that game is being ported to other consoles or platforms at this point, probably PC. Sonic 4 Episode 2 came out.
It was better than the first one.
Sonic, that was like the only... Oh yeah, Sonic had a racing game, I forgot.
Sonic Racing.
I was going to say, this is the only year that Sonic hasn't had a game come out, but no, there was that. There was some restructuring going on with Sony, Kazurai becoming the president, as I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There was some...
Halo 4 was a big push, it was a triple A.
Yeah.
Forza Horizons came out.
Yeah, Forza Horizon came out as a big thing. Nintendo had the release of the Wii U, New Super Mario Brothers. Paper Mario Sticker Star was being heavily pushed at their events.
It was kind of weird. New Super Mario Brothers 2.
And you.
I'm sorry. If I look like I don't like the game, I like the game. 2. I'm talking about 2. I like the game, but it's the same trend again. Even after playing you again. It's,
yeah. Resident Evil got milked to hell and back.
Resident Evil Revelations was an amazing game.
Yes, it was. Oh, and where's that?
It had we had a peripheral.
Peripheral for it.
People say this is bulky, but actually it feels pretty good.
Yeah, you only play with like one game we have at the moment, but one of the issues that came with Resident Evil was that there was Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City.
It came at the same time, and it was the squad-based shooter, HD. It got all the marketing, and it did better. And people hated it.
People hated it.
It sucked hardcore. And the Revelations is really good, and nobody played
it. And then Capcom went out and said, "Hey, here's Dragon's Dogma. We spend all this time on this game, and it doesn't do well in the Western market." Which is odd because the game was being pushed for the Western market.
I did okay, but everyone's like, and people played it and it was good, but you look at it and you go, okay, you spent how much of your resources on this again? And like everybody in Capcom was making this game. No wonder there's no Mega Man game.
And also on top of that, you have the game, you had all these other subdivisions where they keep on going, oh yeah, that game developer is making DMC, that game developer is making Lost Planet 3, and so forth and so on. So you start going, what the hell is Capcom making? And it's Monster Hunter and Resident Evil 6. Essentially, Resident Evil 6. That game.
What happened? Graphically, the game looks like crap. I don't know why. Okay, 5 looked good. You looked like okay. Here's 4 and 5, and 5 looked like an HD Resident Evil. Like, cool. 6. What the hell happened with 6?
They tried to make it like more about
stylized.
More about the lighting than the actual graphics.
Looked like crap.
But it
didn't look right.
That was a smorgasbord of confusion. That game.
I don't know. It's gotten to a point where 5 was about like a country turning into monsters and attacking things. And so what they do with the 6, they had to make it bigger. The whole world. Oh no! It's like, well, what's 7 going to do?
I do think that was a bit.
Is there going to be a 7?
And then there's also like Square Enix had some fill with releasing they went Greek crazy. They released lots of freemium games.
Yeah, any game that they released in hardware wise, they made a freemium game alongside it.
Theater Rhythm was a really good game for the 3DS, and even on the iPhone, despite the fact that you pay like $1 per song and whatnot. That both versions are acceptably good in what they do.
And honestly, if you want to play that game, I would recommend downloading the app and then downloading a song that's not included on the 3DS game and see if you like it, and then buy the 3DS game. That way, it's the best way to get both worlds. And cheap.
They released a new game, Bravely Default.
Came in Japan only. People want it over here, but
really bad. And at the same time, they released a bunch of games. I remember the release. They had like a month where they released like 4 games for the 3DS. Kingdom Hearts did poorly across the board.
Yeah.
Sales-wise, anyways. Heroes of Ruin got very minimal release.
By the way, my opinion...
I forgot about Sleeping Dogs.
Oh, Sleeping Dogs. People love Sleeping Dogs.
It didn't do well, though. The odd thing about it is the game was actually dropped by Activision, and then Square Enix picked it up, changed its name from True Crime LA, or what I think it was called LA, and they changed it to Sleeping Dogs, a completely different experience. It was actually very interesting the way it turned out. And this reminds me of another ish thing when Nintendo decided to announce that they're releasing Bayonetta 2, which was a brand new thing for Nintendo.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
You don't buy games that are canceled by their developers. That's not something that's usually done.
What other things? I'm trying to think of anything else. Zombie U.
Zombie U TV. Nintendo TV.
Oh, I was going to say Zombie U was a good thing.
Yeah, that was a good thing.
It was really good. It was really. That's what a horror game should be like, scaring you.
Did Konami release anything this year? that was my discussion. Thought of it. Did they make anything this year?
I think they released Metal Gear Solid 3D and Metal Gear Solid
the collection, which includes 3 at the same exact damn time.
I think that came out this year.
I think that came out. They've been surviving a lot with mobile platforms that we don't even really know about. With the Western side, THQ went out of business. We know that 2K Games has been making its big rounds of games. Max Payne 3 came out. That was significant.
Let's see.
What are you looking for?
Just looking at the stuff I have over here. Kirby had the anniversary edition thing, Dream Collection thing.
Now, don't look over there. Come back over here.
Oh, Assassin's Creed 3.
Assassin's Creed 3, which was interesting.
Again,
good. It's the same thing, except it was now in forests, essentially. I think that pretty much... I mean, we're missing, obviously, a lot of games.
There's a lot of games that came out this year.
But, I think it's enough. Let's talk about the games we really liked. What would you say is your favorite game of the year?
After all the games that I've played and all the games that I've enjoyed.
Now, mind you, we didn't play a lot of games on 360 and the like. Just because we didn't have the time or interest in some of the games that were there.
I mean, I know a lot of games are amazing out there. I mean, I didn't get we don't have a PS3, so we can't play games like Journey, which I feel that would have been a huge contender in my opinion, because the art style alone is beautiful.
Fez is a really good.
Fez was a good game. Too glitchy, in my opinion.
And also once you figured out the whole mist, if you did the whole mist calculation and everything, once you have
it just became a numbers.
It became literally a look for the symbol on the floor that tells you what to press, and then it became. Became that. It would have been better if there was a better way to get hidden objects.
Also, the time thing was a pain in the
and
ass.
There's some that were time based there.
But if there's
Milano was also good.
Really, that game is hard.
It was.
I played the PC game and I got a handle for it, but this one was like they really don't tell you anything.
Oh, and shout out to Monster World 4, which was a surprise because that's an old game that was never released in the United States,
and that was translated,
fully translated and re-released.
I didn't like how it was linear. That's what bothered me about that game.
Deal with it, but. In terms of what would you say is your, that's all downloadable games.
Oh, Nintendo Land was fun.
And Nintendo Land was fun, I'd say. It was very fun to play.
They just did a very poor presentation.
And they also need more levels. Dear God, they need more levels.
For multiplayer.
The
single player stuff.
Now, as for my game of the year, your game of the year, my game of the year,
Kid Icarus Uprising.
Now,
even with the funky little stand it comes with.
Yeah, the reason is because the game just simply has so much stuff in it.
Yeah, what's surprising about it is when you first play, you're like, okay, the story mode's going to be the X amount of length. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, it's not. It's this long. It's like 5 times longer than it actually is.
Now, granted, the videos that are out now from Nintendo obviously spoil that for you. But when you don't really know that and you get into that, it was surprising.
And it's like, wow, this is a long game. And it's really intense game, too. There's so many enemies, so many environments, so many scenarios.
Yeah, there's so much content to the game.
All the voice acting, the dialogue is humorous. The music is genuinely amazing.
Yeah, the card system is a bit odd.
Well, that is good.
They really didn't add anything to the game.
It's just kind of a thing.
More collectible cards.
There's idols, which are basically figures.
Like trophies.
Like trophies in Smash Bros. Cool. Because, lo and behold, it's made by the guy who made Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
The modeling was really well done. Graphically looks impressive.
It's impressive. Some of the texture work is not...
I felt that the intensity slider...
Yeah, the ability to choose what your difficulty...
That was impressive.
Essentially, you're betting your difficulty.
You're betting, I can do this, and this at level 9. And you can't.
And
then the weapon customization.
The multiplayer.
The
multiplayer was really solid.
That is solid. Multiplayer. And the way it balances out and play online with your friends, the different modes, there's 2 different game modes.
It's all good, really. There's a few things that could have been improved upon, but the biggest issue for people was the controls. I got used to the controls within 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, it's just basically sliding.
I do think that if they re-released the game on the Wii U with the dual analog, they would have to slow down the game a little bit. But at the same time, it would make sense.
But for me, I played that game for well over 60 hours,
something like that.
And it's just the best game I.
Yeah, I would say because it's so unique in premise, because it's so unique in what it's doing in present.
It shows so many characters.
It does what it was supposed to do. Make something Nintendo hadn't made in a while, and that was something brand new, something completely mind blowing in what it did. I think that definitely fits my game of the year for 2012.
Okay.
And which only a shame that it came out in March. The rest of the year was just a downhill from there. Anyway, that's for 2012. Now follow us in the last video where we give you our predictions, completely unscripted predictions for 2013.
Oh boy.